Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, I'm here once again to discuss making decision under the caption interpersonal skills. Well, life is full of challenges, and when you need to make a decision, it is really very difficult to make a decision. There are times you have to make hard decisions, and decisions like, should I move? Which job offer will be best? Am I in the right relationship? Should I proceed with the surgery? N number of things, personal, professional, different type of, and it is so difficult to take a right kind of decision. The decision making process is never easy. No matter how many tricks you have up your sleeve, you are bound to lose a little sleep over the big decisions. Very true. If you are really struggling, here are a few ways to make the process a little easier on yourself as you work through all the possibilities. Big decisions cause serious stress in your life. Buying a house, getting married, getting divorced, moving across the country, quitting your job, or just deciding what movie to see can all drain our willpower. That is why I said it is full of challenge. Even sometimes you go to market, what kind of dress you need to buy, what kind of shoe you need to buy, costly, cheap, casual, and you look around, who is going to help you, who is coming up to help you. Big decisions can wreak havoc on your emotions, and that clouds your mind so that you can't make a solid decision. The reasoning here is really simple. Your short-term emotions get in the way of decisions, and that clouds your judgment. That clouds your emotions, your thinking, your involvement. It is not impartial. It is hard to break free of your emotions, but it helps to know they affect your choices. Sometimes the elements and possible consequences of a hard decision are so complicated your brain gets muddled and confusion and indecision grip you like a vice. You become frozen like a deer in headlights. The more you ponder making the decision, the more confused and stuck you feel. You just want a voice from the heavens to shout down instruction and tell you what path to take. And it happens more often in one's life. This confusion is so uncomfortable that we tend to avoid these big decisions altogether. Of course, this does nothing but stoke a low-level sense of anxiety and frustration about ourselves and our circumstances. Avoidance has never been a great strategy for life success and happiness. You cannot avoid. Suppose you are feeling great difficulty in taking decision, don't escape. Rather, you plunge into it to get the right kind of choice. Well, I pursued the restaurant menu for several minutes, struggling with indecision, each time tempting me in a different way. It also happened. You take time to give order in restaurant. Maybe I should order them all. Is this a silly decision not deserving deliberation? Maybe. But I bet you have been there. If not about food, then about something else. We spend an inordinate amount of time and a tremendous amount of energy making choices between equally attractive options in everyday situation. The problem is that while they may be equally attractive, they are also differently attractive with trade-offs that require compromise. If these mundane decisions drag on our time and energy, think about the bigger ones we need to make in organizations all the time. Yes, I mean, if you are so weak, facing difficulty in taking a small decision like in a restaurant, then what about in life? Which product should we pursue and which should we kill? Who should I hire or fire? Should I initiate that difficult conversation? These are the questions that really perturbed you. Well, these questions are followed by an infinite number of other questions. If I am going to have that difficult conversation, when should I do it? And how should I start? Should I call them or see them in person or email them? Should I do it publicly or in private? How much information should I share? And on. Such kind of questions that will really pollute your mind. So, how can we handle decisions of all kinds more efficiently? This is an art. Very few people can take decision very frequently. The first method is to use habits as a way to reduce routine decision fatigue. The idea is that if you build a habit, for example, always eat salad for lunch, then you avoid the decision entirely and you can save your decision making energy for other things. That works for predictable and routine decisions. But what about unpredictable ones? The second method is to use if-then thinking to routinize unpredictable choices. For example, let us say someone constantly interrupts me and I am not sure how to respond. My if-then rule might be, if the person interrupts me 2 times in a conversation, then I'll say something. These two techniques, habits and if-then, can help streamline many typical routine choices we face in our lives. What we haven't solved for are the larger, more strategic decisions that aren't habitual and can't be predicted. Most people hate making decisions. This is a fact. Why is that? Why such thing happens? They overcomplicate it. Fear of picking the wrong option leads to a period of limbo where nothing gets done and the issue seems to grow bigger and bigger. Well, here are 4 things I have learned that will help you make any tough choice better and faster and without those knots in your stomach. First, get clear on what you really want. Now, I must say, well, there is no hard and fast rule. But yes, there are certain things which you can follow to get a quick and better decision. The first is get clear on what you really want. Decider, know thyself. I have learned that waiting around often means you are not happy with any of the options because they are not right for who you are. Let us say there are 2 choices that make sense on paper. Picking between going back to school and going for a promotion. The real reason someone might be unable to make up his mind is that neither option is what he really wants. Maybe she truly wants a job in an entirely new field. Maybe the prospect of 2 more years of school fills him or her with dread. Maybe he'd most love to be a stay-at-home dad. So, when you find yourself stuck between possibilities, think about what you really want. For example, if you are unsure about a career change, ask yourself what it is that appeals to you about your current position and the one you are debating. If your answer is that your current work appeals to you, but the salary of the new field sounds awesome, your answer is not necessarily to choose between the two, but to ask your manager for a raise. And obviously, take the necessary steps to make that happen. Second is, don't choose something just because you are supposed to. Once you identify what you really want, you will need to quiet the voices in your head or of skeptical people in your life that tell you that you should want something else. For example, I had a client who was offered a prestigious fellowship in Colombia, which was an opportunity she had been dying for when she had applied. But by the time the acceptance came through, her job at home was reviving up. She had a great mentor who was invested in developing her career, and she was feeling excited and happy about her current situation. As a type A personality used to succeeding, it was ingrained in her to pursue opportunities like the impressive fellowship. Together, we realized that she no longer wanted to go, but she felt bad declining the offer. In the end, she decided to stay, and to make sure she had no regrets, we made a plan for her to really focus on maximizing her opportunities at her current job. This is a kind of thing which happens very often, very regularly in one's life. So, if you are feeling pressured into making the decision that looks good, step back and examine your reasoning. If you can't come up with a good answer, you know it is not for you. Third is, remember that doing something trumps doing nothing. This is true 99% of the time. I have clients who have been paralyzed by their inability to figure out what they want to do for a living. This is said by a doctor, and I am citing an example from the medical report. So, doctor said that I have clients who have been paralyzed by their inability to figure out what they want to do for a living. So, they work jobs that pay the bills but aren't doing anything for their career trajectory. They are so afraid of taking the wrong job that years go by and they are still working in a coffee shop or suffering through the same job they held in college. Well, this is the example I said, taken from the medical bulletin, and it is the version of a doctor. Now, picture an alternative scenario. Imagine someone takes a job that she's not sure is in her dream field, but she builds on it. She advances in the company, leads projects, and develops her resume. 2 years down the line, she decides that career is not for her and that she'd like to try something else. Now, she'll start her job research with quantifiable skills and achievements, which she can use to bolster her application for the next job she applies for. Yes, she's worked the same number of years as the person at the office shop, but she has new and different skills to show for it. Practice being decisive. The same clients who trouble with the big question like, should I quit my job and start my own business, often spend the whole day deciding when they should go to the gym. You know who you are. You spend more time scrolling through Netflix than watching that half-hour show. Or you keep telling the waiter that yes, you still need more time before you decide what you would like to order. If you are chronically indecisive, build that decision making muscle by starting small. Give yourself 30 seconds to decide what you will have for dinner, what movie to watch, or whether you want to go out tonight. Follow through on that decision. Repeat. Then work up to bigger things. Does this give you anxiety? Ask yourself what the worst case scenario is if you pick wrong. In other words, if you choose a movie that isn't great, you can turn it off or choose different movie the next time. If your lunch is lackluster, have something different for dinner. Making small decisions in a timely fashion will help train your brain to think through questions more quickly. No one makes perfect decision 100% of the time. We date the wrong people, we stay in a job longer than we should, we order the wrong dessert, but action works in your favor while inaction never does. When you delay making a decision because you are afraid of messing up, nothing changes. But when you are proactive, you are choosing to move ahead. And that is one of the best decisions you can make. We make decisions every day. Everything we say and do is the result of a decision, whether we make it consciously or not. For every choice, big or small, there is no easy formula for making the right decision. The best you can do is to approach it from many perspectives as possible and then choose a course of action that seems reasonable and balanced at that time. If you have a big decision to make, it can seem daunting. But there are some simple things you can do to make it less intimidating, such as identifying the worst case scenario, making a spreadsheet, and following your gut instinct. And the last one is understanding the source of your fear. Write about your fears. Journaling about your fears may help you to start to understand them and make a better decision as a result. Start by writing about the decision you need to make. Describe or list everything that you are worried about regarding this decision. Allow yourself to vent about these fears without judging yourself for having them. For example, you might start your journal by asking yourself, what is the decision that I need to make? And what am I afraid might happen if I make the wrong choice? Very natural questions. You may ask to yourself, identify the worst case scenario. Because you see, through error, you can learn how to take decision in your life. Once you have written about the decision you need to make and why you have fear regarding that decision, take it a step further. So, try to identify the worst scenario where you feel fear. What kind of fear? Try to identify the worst case scenario for each and every possible choice. Pushing your decision to the limits of what could go wrong, if all goes wrong, may make the process less frightening. For example, if you need to decide between staying full-time at your job or taking a part-time job in order to spend more time with your kids, think about what the worst case scenario of each decision could be. If you choose to keep the full-time job, the worst case scenario might be that you miss out on important moments in your children's development and that your children resent you for this when they are older. That is to say that you miss your family life, your family engagement, the happiness of your family. If you choose to keep the part-time job, the worst case scenario might be that you might not be able to pay the bills each month. Decide whether this worst case scenario is actually likely to happen. It is easy for us to catastrophize or spin things out to the worst possible thing that can happen without taking the time to think. Examine the worst scenario you have proposed and then consider what would have to happen to get you there. Is this likely? Consider whether the decision you make will be permanent. Once you have thought about everything that could go wrong, think about whether the decision is reversible. Most decisions are reversible, so you can take comfort in knowing that if you hate your decision, you can always make a change to fix the situation later on. For example, say you decide to take a part-time job to spend more time with your kids. You have to take a firm decision, clarifying everything, every aspect of your life. If you end up having trouble paying the bills, you can reverse the decision by looking for a full-time job. Talk to a friend or family member when you are facing such situations. Don't feel like you have to make a tough decision all by yourself. Enlist the help of a trusted friend or family member to help you or at least listen to your concerns. Share the details about the decision as well as your fears about what could go wrong. It may make you feel better to just vocalize your fears about the decision, and your friend or family member may have some great advice and or reassuring words for you. You may also consider talking to someone who is removed from the situation and who will have a neutral opinion. This is also a very good option, that you can talk to a person who is neutral, who is impartial. A therapist can often be a helpful source for this type of perspective. You can even consider searching online for others who have experienced a similar situation. If you were trying to decide between full-time work and part-time work plus more time with your kids, you could post your problem on a parenting forum online. That is to say that there are solutions if you raise your voice, if you make others also realize that you are passing through a crisis to take a decision. You will likely hear from people who have had to make similar decisions, as well as some people who will tell you what they would do in your situation. This is also a very good situation. Asking someone who might be in your situation earlier, he or she can suggest you the right way. Now, considering the decision, while you are taking a decision, certain things are very important, like stay calm, riding high on emotions, either positive or negative, because you see, we human beings are very, very emotion, and decision taken under the pressure in a state of emotion will mostly disastrous. So riding high on emotions, either positive or negative, can impact your ability to make a rational decision. When you have any decision to make, the first step should generally be to stay as calm as possible, never to be panic. If you can't stay calm, put off making the decision until you are thinking clearly. And that is why it is said that don't take any decision when you are mentally very disturbed. Give some space to yourself, and after that you can take a decision. Try taking a few deep breaths to help calm yourself down. If you have more time, go into a quiet room and do about 10 minutes of deep breathing exercise. To perform deep breathing exercises, start by placing your hand on your belly below your ribcage and the other on your chest. When you inhale, you should feel your abdomen expand as well as your chest. Yoga is also very helpful while making any good and fruitful decision. Yoga can give you the mental stability, but for that 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes practice is required. Inhale slowly through your nose. Aim to inhale for a 4 count. Focus on the feeling of the breath as your lungs expand. Hold the breath for 1-2 seconds. This is what you can do for making yourself calm. Gently release the breath through your nose or mouth. Aim to exhale for a 4 count. Repeat this process 6 to 10 times per minute for 10 minutes. Now get as much information as possible. You cannot take decision in ignorance. Being ignorant, never try to take any decision. Most decisions are made better when you have enough information to make an informed decision. Making decisions, especially if they are about important topics, should rely on logic. Do some research to find out as much as you can about your decision. Research means consulting people, talking to others, trying to find out situations through which you are suffering or through which you need to take a decision. So you make a research, R&D, to take a good meaningful decision. For example, if you were trying to decide between keeping a full-time job and switching to a part-time job to spend more time with your kids, you would need to know how much money you would be losing each month by making the switch. Because money is also very important for your family. So you need to know that how much money you are going to lose if you are on part-time and how much money you are going to gain if you are on full-time. You would also need to consider how much time you would gain with your kids. Record this information as well as any other relevant information that might help you make your decision better. You would need to consider other options too and gather information about them. For example, you could ask your employer whether it is possible for you to telecommute at least a few days a week. You may ask because you need to perform well, so you need not to be under pressure for making good decision. Now use the 5 whys technique to understand the problem. Asking yourself why 5 times can help you to uncover the source of a problem and determine if you are making a decision for the right reasons. For example, if you were trying to decide between keeping your full-time job and moving to a part-time job to have more time with your family, your 5 whys might look like this. And these are: why am I considering part-time work? This is nothing but introspection. Because I never see my kids. Why do I never see my kids? Because I work late most nights. Why do I work late most nights? Because we have a new account that is taking up a lot of my time. Well, these are the things, you can go for introspection. Why is it taking up so much of my time? Because I'm trying to do a good job and hopefully get promoted as a result. Because you are getting the answer also that why you are like this. Why do I want to be promoted? To earn more money and provide for my family. In this case, the 5 whys shows that you are considering reducing your hours even though you are hoping for a promotion. There is a conflict here that requires further investigation in order to make a good decision. My dear student, well, I conclude my discussion on making decision today till here. In the next previous discussion on making decision only, we can elaborate that further investigation to make a better, meaningful and good decision. Till then, thank you very much.